I'm not a huge fan of PlayStation Move, but the one game that really caught me early in its life was Sports Champions. Now, a year out from Sports Champions comes Medieval Move's Deadmund's Quest, a title from the same developer, Zendagi Games. And like Sports Champions, Medieval Moves uses the PlayStation Move artfully, adding in story-heavy elements to give the game a different sort of feel. It's not a perfect game by any stretch of the imagination, but Medieval Move's Deadmund's Quest is easily one of the best PlayStation Move titles to date, and one that both kids and adults will enjoy. As long as you don't mind waggling, of course.
The asparagus will have to eat! Ham to damn!
Unlike Sports Champions, which was pick up and play, Medieval Moves relies on a story to tell its tale, and is thus immediately more engrossing. Deadmund's Quest is about a boy prince named Edmund who is turned into a skeleton one day after an evil being storms his kingdom. Accompanied by the spirit of a great king that came before him, Edmund, now known as Deadmund, quests to rid his kingdom of this evil, showing his skill with an assortment of weapons all the while. Medieval Moves isn't a game that's likely to blow you away with its graphical flair, but the game still looks good and runs fine. Load times are a little lengthy, unfortunately, but this is easily made up for by the clever slant Medieval Moves takes in telling its story. Gameplay is occasionally interrupted by comic book-like frames with voiceovers explaining what's going on. I really enjoyed this method of storytelling. It reminded me a bit of Infamous, though without that high-quality sheen. I also enjoyed Medieval Moves' voice acting. It's not of the high caliber you'd find in an Uncharted or Resistance, but it was totally functional and worked well in helping to tell Deadmund's story. With most of the story being developed in the aforementioned comic book sequences, it's important that the voices embody their characters, and they thankfully do just that.
No! You have to... King Edmund! What? Skeleton attack! By heavens!
Not surprisingly, Medieval Moves requires the use of the PlayStation Move controller, so don't purchase this game if you don't already own a PlayStation Eye and at least one Move. You won't need a navigation controller at all, so don't worry about that, though you could optionally play with the second Move controller if you so desire. The PlayStation Move works great in Medieval Moves. The moveset is primarily based upon Sports Champions mechanics, meaning that when Deadmund swings his sword, it's the gladiator game from Sports Champions. Likewise, when Deadmund uses his bow and arrow, it's the previous game's mechanic for archery, and the introduction of the throwing star is the same motion as tossing a frisbee. This allowed the studio to create its game in about a year, and it's surprisingly polished and fluid considering its short development cycle. The one major drawback to Medieval Moves, however, is that it's on rails. This basically means that you don't move your character, but that the game moves him for you. This is commonplace in on-rail shooters, and I suppose Medieval Moves could be considered one, albeit with its old-school weaponry. But Medieval Moves would have been an even stronger game if you could use the navigation controller to move your character around. This is especially telling when trying to grab the game's many collectibles from the environments. Prepare to be frustrated on occasion as the game moves you along when you're not yet done exploring a particular location. Even with its on-rails nature, Medieval Moves' Deadmund's Quest is still a game I recommend to those who own a Move and are looking for something new to play with it. It's a fairly lengthy adventure, one with plenty of collectibles to find, trophies to earn, leaderboards to compete on, and even ancillary modes to play when you're done, with local and online multiplayer support. In other words, there are plenty of reasons to go back for more, which is always nice. For more on Medieval Moves' Deadmund's Quest, head on over to IGN.com.